Wanted to also talk about the recent news. I saw it yesterday. Suicide of Matthew Lawrence Perna, born in 1984. He was 37 years old, and he entered the Capitol on January 6, 2021. For those of you who don't know, I was in Washington that day, but I had already planned on leaving before things got. I knew things were going to get violent, some form or another. I thought it was going to be street fighting. So I knew there was going to be street fighting on that day, and I was there to cover it as a journalist, and so I had already planned to make my exit around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. The main event was over near the Washington Monument, and so we were slowly making our way to the Capitol, and we saw, hot pink smoke bombs, and I'm like, that's weird. And then my sister in Florida texted me, are you okay? There's a riot. I'm like, what? There's not a riot. But anyway, Matthew Perna was not so lucky. He was an active participant in the protest as opposed to me being a witness. And even though I do sympathize with them because journalists are supposed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And I have yet to this day to see an understanding of the plight of the deplorables, those who lost their jobs, those who have no career, those who lost children to the opioid crisis, those who lost their own lives to the opioid crisis. I have yet to see an acknowledgement of the effects of policy decisions on the deplorables. And so I was there as a journalist, but I was there to comfort the afflicted, a population that has been maligned, ignored, and essentially kicked to the ground, not because they're white, but because they're industrious, they're working class, they're entrepreneurs, they're small business owners, they're independent thinkers. Years ago now, when I first started Back to Facts, I started February 2017, I long ago left the paradigm of right and left. And I find it hilarious and astounding that people still subscribe to it. Sure, we can see the lines being drawn. We know who likes traditional values. We know who's Christian. We know who's perhaps a conservative Muslim or, whatever reason they're, quote, conservative. But the definitions have been so maligned and so adulterated that it is not useful to speak in terms of right and left anymore. As far as I'm concerned, the participants in January 6th, there were just as many former left-wing people and even current left-wing people who understood what was at stake and who were waking up through the pandemic and all of the lockdown policies and the completely nonsensical policies. They were there at the Capitol. And it was like enough. It was these back-breaking lies of people who will look at you in the face, talk about dignity, and stab you in the back. So that's why I was there. And now we have this young man, 37 years old, went to Penn State University. He lived in Thailand for a while. He loved to travel. Matthew Lawrence Perna committed suicide. According to the obituary, he stayed within the velvet ropes. He entered basically a door that was open and felt he was pushed in by the crowd, according to his family in the obituary. Whatever it is, even if he had made a poor choice that day, whatever it is, even if he made a poor choice, he did not deserve to be treated as a political prisoner and as a political tool for the elites. And that is what's really the most upsetting of all. Not to mention the comments you read when any of these people have been arrested over the last 12 months. If y'all are on Facebook, then you know what I'm talking about. Is a new person was arrested and they were charged and convicted and disorderly conduct, being in a special building. The comments, though, that we read are often, yeah, well, they get what they deserve. I didn't see anybody crying about people being killed by police over the last few years. Black Lives Matter. And now these privileged white rioters, they should be getting even worse treatment. You go, okay, well, obviously the person commenting and saying that is a person who is getting a different information stream than you, right? So you go, okay, I get that. Our information streams are broken. then you think, wow, so we're making we're using the logical fallacy of whataboutism to bring up BLM and bring up the extrajudicial killings, or often accidental or killings of people in custody of police. And when I say in the custody, I mean in the presence of. So I've talked about this before. You go to the Washington Post, you can look at the numbers. Police kill more white people when they're in their presence than black people, but black people only make up 13% of the population, and so it just seems like it happens every day. I mean, we had another no-knock warrant in Minneapolis, and you start thinking, oh, this is on purpose. Like, not doing something about this in general for all of our people is on purpose. And I have thoughts about that too. But as far as BLM or people getting, a miscarriage of justice, that happens to all of us, especially if we don't have a good Rolodex, especially if our parents don't have a good Rolodex or money. Now, do black people suffer from injustice in the justice system, in the quote justice system? Yes, it's horrific. It's awful. It's unbelievable, the wasted lives. You know, if you look at the Innocence Projects around the country working on helping to reverse wrongful convictions before people are killed on death row. And that is a real thing. It's a real thing. It's also a real thing for white people, and it's also a real thing for often mentally ill brown and white people who don't fit into neat little boxes, to be killed by police for absolutely no reason. Very avoidable reasons, because we still haven't gotten it together to be more efficient, more accountable. Come on, I gotta get over, dude. And more accountable. And case in point, that Kim Potter who shot Daunte Wright right before the Kenosha riots. If you watch the trial, you'll see that they just gave them new tasers. They just gave them new tasers, and they did not have an orange thing on the handle. It was all black. Whoa, what do you know? That's so weird, isn't it? Okay, wait, I gotta go to Tarzana. I'm gonna have to jump off and jump back on because I don't know exactly where I am right now. Thanks for watching, guys.